The ANC says it is deeply troubled by the chaos and violence that erupted during the council sitting to remove executive mayor of the City of Ekurhuleni. The party accuses EFF councillors of disregarding democratic processes during the Thursday meeting. Lesego Makhubela is the ANC Gauteng spokesperson, and he joins me live for this conversation. Lesego, I appreciate your time. Can you provide us with the ANC's official stance on the events that transpired during the Ekurhuleni Council meeting on February 29th, particularly regarding the actions of the EFF councillors and Speaker of Council?
No, thank you very much, Hugo, and good afternoon to your viewers. Well, we're deeply troubled by what ensued at the council in Ekurhuleni. The violence meted against our councillors by councillors of the EFF, the violence that was meted out against officials of the City of Ekurhuleni and those who were invited who were in the gallery, but as well as the violent disruptions that took place on the inevitable. The EFF is trying to stop the inevitable in Ekurhuleni, and that's why they behaved the way they did. You know them, they are known by everybody. They believe in the language of anarchy. They believe in the language of chaos. They are allergic to robust debates. They are allergic to resolving issues through discourse. They don't believe in discourse. They believe that you must climb on top of tables. They believe that you must throw bottles at people. And this is the language that they use to communicate daily on all issues. And that's why that council, the decorum of the council was reduced into a stock firm, what the EFF is. And this is what the EFF represents. They did the same. I mean, what they did in Ekurhuleni is what they tried to do during the State of the Province address here in Gauteng. Unprovoked, without any issue. They just stood up, raised the point of order. They were clarified on the matter. They started throwing bottles at invited guests who came to listen to the sopa. They continue to do it in Ekurhuleni. They do the same in all councils. For the first time in a long time, we had a very peaceful sauna because the EFF was not there. There were no disruptions. The president was able to deliver the sauna without any disruption. I believe that the South African electorate would need to restore the decorum of our councils, will need to restore the decorums of our legislatures and parliament on the 29th of May and remove chaos and all these disruptive characters within our legislative arms of the state.
Well, so how does the ANC view the conduct of Speaker Chivenga during the council meeting? Do you believe her actions were impartial, or do you see them as intentionally provocative?
She was intentionally provocative. She was partisan. She was very myopic. In fact, she is the one, and this was rehearsed in their caucus. They planned to do this. They used her as a speaker to actually ensure that the council descends into chaos because she continuously ignored some of the speakers and ignored motions that were raised. I mean, there were substantive issues that were raised in that council, and she decided to undermine the council book, the rules of council. She decided to undermine the adopted rules that the council uses to run their meetings and decided to use common sense to run that particular meeting. Actually, she's the reason why the council did. And I would not blame her because seated in that caucus of the EFF is her boss, Gauteng. She can't defy what Gauteng says, and that's why she could not be partisan, and that's why she decided to undermine the decorum of that council meeting, as well as undermine the people of Ekurhuleni in a manner in which she did.
So what steps does the ANC believe should be taken to address the breakdown of order and violence witnessed during that particular council meeting?
We are removing them. We are removing the EFF from the state. We cannot be in any relationship with pickpocketers. We cannot be in a relationship with people who believe that violence is the way forward. You know, our country has a history of violence. And currently, the crime statistics, they tell you that the murder rate has gone up. And we might undermine some of these chaotic scenes that take place in parliament and in our councils as having no effect in the psyche of our people. But they do. When people see honorable members and people who should be able to lead by example, trying to resolve problems through kung fu and through violence and through throwing any object at each other, That is what inspires the youth of this country to become violent. And this is something we will not tolerate, not in this country. We fought for the rights of every person in this country to express themselves. The EFF ought to be able to express itself peacefully, robustly, through its elected representatives, not through fist and not through kung fu and not through violent acts. And that's why we are saying to the people of Ekurhuleni and the people of South Africa that for us to deal with the chaotic scenes that have become the character of the EFF, we must vote them out on the 29th of May. But also, we are continuing with the motion. We are continuing with the motion to remove the EFF from that municipality. The municipality has regressed. The EFF inherited some of the best administrators. I mean, the city manager in Ekurhuleni is one of the most experienced person in the council, but in the whole country. The municipality was well functioning. It was doing well. Now we are regressing in all fronts, and therefore we cannot continue to be in that kind of arrangement.
Lesego, do you believe that the current situation in Ekurhuleni reflects broader challenges within coalition governments? And if so, how do you deal with this? Because for all intents and purposes, you may deal with this city council now, but May 29th, for all intents and purposes, it is largely perceived that it's going to be coalition government.
Coalitions don't work, and we've been saying that many times. They don't work anywhere in the world. They don't work in Tshwane. They don't work in Johannesburg. They are not working in Ekurhuleni. They are not working everywhere else. Coalitions don't work because what you have a fruit salad that actually causes regress, that causes services not to be delivered, that causes a lot of indecision on many of the issues because simply many of these parties are able to sit down and not agree on a number of issues. And that's why when we try to rescue a municipality we had built from the ground up, which was being destroyed by the DA, we thought that we were entering into some sort of an arrangement with a party like the EFF and others to be able to rescue Ekurhuleni from regressing from what we had built. But we are not. That's why we are regressing in all fronts. If you go to Tembisa, you look at how filthy it is. If you go to areas in Ivory Park and everywhere else in the city of Ekurhuleni, you will realize that we are regressing in all fronts. There's no work that is being done. Services are not reaching our people. And professionals in the form of officials of the city are being undermined by this arrogant and violent, chaotic, anarchic organization called the EFF. They are being disrespected. They are unable to do their work. They interfere even in the affairs of the administration. And therefore, that's why we don't believe that coalition can solve any problems. I mean, if you look at what is happening in Johannesburg, it's regrettable. I mean, decisions, before they can be taken, they have to go to a multiplicity of many meetings before we resolve any issue. So I would not, we don't support coalition, and we certainly don't think that the Gauteng province will be governed by a coalition. Our people have learned. They've seen how coalitions have destroyed Tshwane. They've seen how coalitions have destroyed well-run municipalities such as Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. They will not want, the electorate will not agree that we descend into these chaotic municipalities at a provincial and national level.
So just how much accountability or blame do you take for the fact that you are in coalition governments, particularly in cities where you governed as the majority party but have lost the votes for any number of reasons?
Instruments of good governance will tell you that when we ran Tshwane, it was one of the best cities in the world, not just in this country. Instruments of good governance such as the Auditor General report, the Quality of Life Survey, will tell you that when we ran Johannesburg, it was performing. We built a lot of communities from ground up. I mean, the entire Soweto, every square mile of Soweto since 1994, we studied. We built clinics, we built schools, we ensured that we provide services, we built sidewalks and many amenities, libraries and all sorts of things. All these things are now in a state of decay. They are in a state of regress. All these municipalities that we've been running in Gauteng, you can roll back your camera and go back when the ANC was governing all these municipalities on its own, that we were able to govern, were able to provide services, were able to respond to the challenges that face our people, and were able to decisively use the levers of the state to address some of the issues that confront our people. So and then you can go back to a track record of coalition governments, and you will realize that coalition governments have done nothing but regress on the good work that the ANC has been doing all these years.
Lesego, do you think you might have to change your attitude? I mean, if we take a look at polls, for instance, that have been conducted as a measure of what's likely to happen post-May 29th, there is a suggestion that coalition governments will be the order of the day. And assuming that you are faced with situations where a coalition government is what's available, how do you intend to deal with it?
Well, we disregard NSPAS-sponsored polls, because it's the same NSPAS that gives the DA, that gives Action SA, that gives Rise Mzansi, and any other black person money who opens a party and who's opposed to the ANC money to campaign against the ANC. If you look at News 24 polls, if you look at polls that are sponsored by NSPA's own media, they speak that picture. They've been painting a picture of national and provincial coalitions from 1994. They said Mandela will be in coalition. They said we'll be in coalition when Mbeki was president. They said the same in 2019, so we disregard them. There are polls that are scientific, that speak to our people truly. Those are the polls that we take seriously, and they are able to even give us a margin of error in their polls. They are able to depict a scientific picture of what might happen after the 29th of May, and we don't shut our ears to reason. We do our own even internal poll, and that's why our manifesto speaks to what the polls that we conduct internally suggest we do. That's why we listen to other polls that are done by other reputable research companies.
So do the polls
own sponsored polls?
Lesego, do the polls that you listen to suggest that the ANC will have more than 50%?
They say that we will be governing on our own at national. They say we will be governing on our own in all provinces. They say we are pushing the DA in the Western Cape. They say our people in the Western Cape are not happy with the stance taken by the DA in supporting what is happening in the Middle East, what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing, butchering people in the Middle East, butchering people in Gaza. That's what our own polls are telling us.